this idea of what comes natural to you, fighting for and living for what comes natural to you isn't necessarily healthy for you. And that doesn't mean it's right just because it's natural. The human being naturally wants to do bad things, not all the time, but we are susceptible to bad behaviors. We are susceptible to sin. Okay, this is just part of being in the flesh. It's part of the human experience as a fallen being, right? And that's why it's important to understand obedience and understand faith in these things. So you understand where your place is. You understand who you are in this world. You understand your value. Okay, as an image of God, you understand your value. So you stay away from tainting and defiling your temple and doing things that you should not. You stay away from these types of things because you are grounded and you have a foundation. But when you forgo all these things, or you choose to be ignorant of them, or you choose to just completely denounce them, you are then given to the flesh. Just like in Romans, how it explains the Father gave them up, gave them up to their sin, and pretty much they just fell in it. And this is what happens and has continued to happen. It's just the problem is these types now, and maybe for some time, have been running all of our industries. So now they have the ability to teach our children these things. And this is when it starts to get dangerous, and that's where we're headed. You could look back into, say, the 30s and 40s, even though degeneracy was just starting to take its shape, but still back then, media was a little different. Okay, it was a little more nuanced and a lot more innocent, and there was still a strong sense of Christian morality in media, say in the 40s, 50s. So things took a sharp turn, I'd say right after World War II, mainly right late 50s, around the Beat Generation era. That's when things really started to change up, because Hollywood started to change. Certain groups, certain individuals started to take over, and certain ideals started to be placed into the narrative of pop culture, and it's continued on. The United States of Sodom, this flesh consciousness that we're experiencing. Flesh consciousness is a term I use where it just describes the consciousness of culture today. This idea of consciousness. There's even something called the conscious movement, right? Now, though that's something a little different, it's more of a, I'd say, Pan-African type of spiritism or spirituality. But this idea of flesh consciousness is a type of consciousness that only knows the flesh. The flesh is its lens, and it becomes a focus. So what we find today is what's being promoted, and for some time now, is this pursuit of lusts and bodily pleasures. So this pretty much takes control of the development of society and the direction society is going into.